is Alex Shelchenko, and we are going to do some more work on our Bandit game today. As you can see on my screen here, I've got George Cooney, who is our best friend. He is our favorite raccoon. And in an interesting turn of events, originally we were thinking that we would be able to take the FBX that Alex had created of the proxy mesh and his rigging and all of his controls and export it from Maya as FBX and then bring it over, and then I could just work on it in Modo. And we had no end of problems. Geometry wasn't in the right place, maps were all messed up, and we went through, I don't know, probably 10 different variations of settings and configurations with it. And this is one of those things where you can get a lot of value out of watching someone else fight their way through getting their content through the pipeline, because it's like a whole set of just edge cases, just tiny little bugs that any one of them by themselves is not a big deal, but then when you take them as a whole, and then it seems like nothing works. So I spent all day Saturday basically relearning how to do everything in Blender, because from this point forward, I think what we're going to do is we'll use our pipelining tools for retopology and baking and all that stuff as normal, and then when we get to the point where we've got an animatable mesh, we'll just bring in the Blender so that we can both work on it without having the platform niceties of our particular favorite tool. And it's actually a nice compromise because Blender's a really capable modeling and animation tool. I haven't played with the rendering at all because when I was using Blender frequently 10,000 years ago, the renderer was really slow and had a lot of features. So I don't even know anything about that. But considering that we probably won't be doing a lot of pre-rendered stuff in games, that shouldn't be such a big deal. So I brought the FBX mesh data into Blender, which when we finally got it pared down to just the mesh data, it worked really well. We had some issues where we had jumped through the collada format at one point, and that, for some reason, did a bunch of funky stuff. And one of the things that it did was it actually triangulated the mesh. And in Blender, the weight painting is kind of built around this process of selecting vertices in your edit mode. Like you can see here, I've got the shoulders and the hood selected. And I've hidden the rest of that item. And then if I exit edit mode, you'll see that it just shows me all of the mesh data. And then when I go into the weight painting mode, if I come down here and switch from object mode to weight paint, you see it turns blue like normal. Then they've got this little vertex selection masking mode, and if you turn that on, it's going to show you just the mesh data that's visible inside of edit mode. And this makes it really easy to target specifically just the parts of vertices, or just the verts that you want for your group. And one of the problems that it does solve is if I leave this mode and I come in here and I just like paint some arbitrary weight, say, just color this. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so for some reason it just, when it does this, it projection paints through the scene, but it actually doesn't care about normal, or about the surface normal. So it doesn't stop the ray here. It just shoots it all the way through the mesh. And this can be really frustrating because, and I think that this is probably why Alex doesn't like this process very much, because it's really hard to target specifically what you want unless you're using that vertex mask mode. And so what you do in this vertex masking mode is you can use your selection tools like the paint selection, and you can just select just the verts that you want. You see they're turning yellow. And then when you go into paint your weights, if I paint up here, it won't do anything, and it doesn't projection paint anymore because isolated these birds to be the ones that I want. So yeah, unfortunately for streaming, coming up with stuff to talk about while you're doing this, because it's such a methodical process, you're doing the same 5 steps over and over again. But it is kind of interesting, and the fact that I haven't really rigged anything in a pretty long time means you're going to watch me make a ton of mistakes, which is exciting. Alex, what are you working on? Can I share?
I am pasting links to our stream, and I'm continuing to refine the level layout that we started on one of our previous streams. There won't be anything new today in terms of tools. I'm basically going to be continuing just to move BSD boxes around.
So is your plan today to make this a lot bigger, or are you going to?
Yeah, like this is just an initial research on what the level needs to feel like, or what's good, what's not good for our gameplay. So I'm just going to make it big and see which parts of the level I like and what parts kind of suck. And then down the road, when we can decide whether we're gonna, if you want to split it up into smaller levels, or get rid of certain parts, or actually have like one giant level for the final prototype.
Cool.
But yeah, for now I'm just extending the boundary of this, and you can see, add in a little bit more, fill in some of the gaps that we had. Another thing is, I guess, yeah. So you won't hear much from me. I'm just kind of zoning out and moving boxes around. But whenever I have something interesting, or I'm play testing through the area, I'll let you know, and Tom can share my screen, and I'll show you something interesting. Hopefully.
All right, I'm gonna get back to work on this, and we're gonna run the stream here today, probably till noon, and then cut it. It'll be a little short today, but we will be back tomorrow with another stream.
Yeah, Mondays are a little bit tough.
Yeah, everybody wants your attention.
Yeah.
All right. So in Blender, you just right click on a face or a point or whatever, and if you hit H, it hides it, and Alt H to show everything that's been hidden. And if you do Shift H, it'll hide everything but what you have selected. So yeah, I'll just a little bit walk through the rig here. And when I'm working with bones in most apps, I prefer the stick view, just because when you go this shape mode, it's really cluttered and it can be harder to find stuff. This mode does make it easier to select items, but I kind of like the way it looks. And if it takes just a little bit extra time to select one, that's fine. I'm not going to be building any controls, I don't think, in this. I'm going to try to animate a bunch of stuff without controls, and then down the road, if we find ourselves getting in the where we've got 15 or 20 animations, I might go in and build a controls here. But I'm going to be using bone groups and also a pose library, which I probably won't get to today because I'm still weight painting everything. And originally I had done automatic weight painting on this, and everything just kind of came out muddy, and I didn't really like it very much. And because the topology is not really kind of standard, it's more topology built for baking. It's still totally animatable, but like there's no horizontal projection here on the shoulders. I think the auto weight painting is sort of built is optimized to have your edge flow that follows your animation vector. It's fine for this, and it's cartoony and stylized a little bit, so we can kind of fake it. Like stuff like giving it like a really big clavicle means that I can push that shoulder up, and while it might not be realistic, it still looks good. So the way that you do this is select your mesh, go to weight paint, and then you can come through here, turn off this vert mask mode, and then you just select the bones that you want to assign groups to. And I've got symmetry turned on for this mesh item, and the way that Blender works with that is if you've got multiple mesh items in your scene, so the head is separate, you might want to just swap out this art with something else, or who knows. You have to come into the switch to weight paint mode, and then come to options and turn on X mirror. And then if you have good, the topology is reflected across the origin, just X mirror, and then topology mode can help to resolve those. Grab this, and then here, and then I'm going to select try to select an edge. There we go. So you see I just alt right click on a face, and you just kind of have to click around until it guesses the right one, I guess. I'm not really sure how that works. And then you can hit Control plus on the numeric keypad to extend that selection. So I know that this bone is going to have influence over probably, yeah, it's probably going to do just these bones, not anything on that. And then, yeah, then I'm going to hide that. And then I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to Control L and hide that. And then I'm going to Alt H to show what I just hid, and then hide everything else. Actually, need to hide that, and then I need to do the other arm as well. Because I've noticed some weirdness with the symmetry mode turned on. If faces are hidden, you won't get the results that you want.
Oops.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, and this topology is pretty clean, so I think I'll probably be able to work with the arms all at once. But I am going to hide. I think
I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Sure,
Just
man.
gotta run down.
Well, maybe it'll be okay. We'll just work with that. See what we got. All right. Hide some mesh items. Oops. Hide the head. Okay. So we're in pose mode. Select the mesh. Grab our arm, and then go to our vertex mask. And then we can just start painting. And then in Blender, you can switch views using the numeric keypad. One to view the front, and then Control one to view the back, which is really yeah. So you can see already. I should have isolated that. Yeah. So we're gonna do that. So it looks like if you grab it on the edge, that actually will more predictably project along that panel that we want.
What did I miss? Nothing.
Nothing, dude.
What have you been doing here? Why did I not miss anything?
Cool. And then because I've got that bone selected, I can actually rotate it to make sure that I got all the points. Go to the extreme, make sure that there's nothing getting caught up inside of the manifold. So now we'll deselect that. Hide everything else. Select the body. Hide that. And then when you're in the masking mode, you can't select new bones. So you have to turn it off and then turn it back on. And I'm sure there's a hotkey for it, but I not. I think we want to include the underside of the cup. Nope.
What's that?
That's my Mac Pro rebooting because I did a system update.
Ah.
And then I should have checked this with the bicep, but I didn't. Okay. And then you just want to make sure that it did mirror correctly and that there's no muddiness. So now I've got these giant slabs of red painted, and what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to enter the edit mode and then unhide everything. And then I'm going to select the bones that I was working on. Grab this one. And then this one is the upper arm L, so I'm going to grab the vert groups for that, select them. Yeah, see we got a little drift here, which is fine, because it's going to resolve between these two bones. And then I'm going to increase the size of that by 1 hide everything else, and then come back in here, enter my vertex mask mode, select everything, and smooth it one time. And then that's going to handle that should handle my joint transitions pretty well. See, it kind of broke down here, but I still haven't assigned any of this to any other bones. So the only thing that this can resolve against, like this is set to 50% or 75% or whatever. The only thing that these points are resolving against is the position of this bone in relationship to its origin. So once I assign them to the torso or whatever chest one that is, that should bring plenty. I'm gonna pause it real quick because I've got to take care of some background audio, or I'm just gonna mute it real quick.
Well, change it to my screen so I can talk about what I'm doing here. Is it on?
Yeah.
I assume you guys see my screen. Okay. So what I'm doing here is basically adding a little bit more of a secondary complexity to the level and starting to introduce a little bit of a flat surfaces where you can just run around without a fear of falling down. This, in theory, should help to create a contrast between more platforming areas and create a little bit of a more of an easy space where you can just run around. Now, I'm at this point, I'm still not sure how the levels are going to be built, whether they're going to be all mostly like abstract spaces like this, or we're going to sort of grab these planes and extend them down to create kind of like a Super Mario kind of mountains. That I'm not sure about yet, but I'm not worried. I'm just kind of trying to create a nice, interesting layout here.
Hey, doesn't F11 maximize your editor?
Yeah.
Yeah, seems like,
but
because you're just duplicating content that's already there, it seems like that would be a better way to work.
Because I'm using the numbers to change the size. Yeah, I could do something like this, but I need these numbers here.
I wonder if there's a way to get the top of this panel.
Yeah, but so the two things that I wanted to mention. A is verticality, because it's a platformer. I'm trying to play with a lot of height differences and a lot of vertical elements, so we can run around and try to find the exit to get to our location. And another thing is we have point A, the game start, which is right here, and we're going to have the point B, which is the trash can that we need to get back to point A. Whenever you have a trash can, whenever you're carrying your trash can, you can't jump. That's the limitation that we have in our game, and it's supposed to make things interesting. So basically, you have to plan ahead, plan your escape before you grab the trash can, because when you grab it, all hell goes loose. Rats start chasing you down. Owls are on a hunt for you. Everyone wants to prevent you from getting the trash can. So what we need, what the design of the level needs to provide is when you go to the trash can, like when you're going from A to B, you're allowed to jump. So we need to have plenty of areas where you can jump and maybe interact with the environment to create additional escape routes. But when you're going from B back to A, you can't jump. So the level needs to be designed in a way that you can get back without having to jump. And that's going to be a really interesting challenge. So yeah.
Asymmetrical single player platformer.
Yeah. What? Why are you laughing?
It's just because it makes me laugh when I think about it. Like, you decide how difficult the game's gonna be while you're playing. All right, cool. Now we're gonna do arm color. Bump that up one. sort by name. Good. And now, this is something I got messed up yesterday with it. I wanted to use photo shortcuts. Select all those, and only the effect, because I want to blend between the two. I want to blend on the elbow joint between the two. Point mode. Oh, smooth. Point mode. Bicep. So now I'm going to get rid of those. It's funny that the Blender selection tools are kind of tricky to use, and I spend as much time deselecting inadvertently selected stuff as I do actually making selection. I'm still kind of on the fence about whether or not to do rig controls for this. I don't know. I think I need to be convinced.
I mean, rig controls help when you have multiple. Yeah, and then, I mean, you only kind of have to do them once, and then we can decide whether you're using same rig for other characters, but it's unlikely because a lot of them are going to be very different in proportions.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that we can have 2 or 3 different types of like rats, maybe, that share the same rig or something. But I think between the different enemy types, it's going to be really tricky. I also spent a ton of time trying to do selections and masking just with the tablet. I really recommend it. Do the selection part with the mouse. As finicky as Blender is with their selection tools. I don't know if I'm an expert, Alex. I don't know if that's a true thing you just said.
It's okay.
But I can do it.
Fake it until you make it.
Fake it until you make it, kids.
Yeah. The most valuable lesson you'll learn today. Forever.
trouble resolving whether or not the chest needs to go all the way up. There's my break right there. Here. There, so this is a little too high. Oop. Yeah, calling it art. Yeah, one of the earlier FBXs that we had, something about the export process actually broke symmetry too. It was all the mesh was all offset by like 0.25 from the origin, and I didn't even notice it because I'd been working in perspective mode in Blender. And then I remembered that you just hit 5 to toggle orthogonal. That was a sad moment. Oh, your keyboard's so loud.
Yep.
I'm gonna complain about your keyboard now.
Now you know how I feel.
I really don't know how you feel. This is where things get really, really interesting. So I know I want to take the hood off entirely. Right. So just select that, all those points, and remove them from that. It should work. There we go. And that when you remove verts from a group, it'll set all of their values to 0 as well. So that can have kind of weird side effects you might not have anticipated. That's all going to go away. And then I think we do want the, well, definitely this strip. Yeah, I think I'll just see what happens. I don't want to mess up this. Oh, I'm just gonna remove it. Switch to edge mode. Try to grab a loop. Boy, that's not going to do what I want, is it? Well, I don't want to keep messing with the selection tools. So we'll just go ahead and manually internal. You guys might notice some weirdness where it's doing the select through, and that's because I've actually turned that option off, and I can never remember where it is. So I can either fumble around for 10 minutes trying to find it.
What? I know what option you're looking for.
Yep, I just can't ever remember where it is.
It's on the bottom, right next to your component selection. There's that grayscale.
That's it right there. That's
no.
it. Limit selection
no.
visible. This is the one.
Okay, wait. Say again. What was the problem that you're?
Yeah, where like when I'm clicking and it's clicking a back facing through the item that I'm clicking on, and it's because I've turned this option off.
Yeah. That's the one. Okay, yeah. I was looking at the stream, right, and it's delayed, so I wasn't sure what you were pointing at. Yeah. But yeah, that's it.
Welcome to my universe.
Yeah.
Welcome to my pain, Alex.
Yeah.
Good. I really need to find the hotkey for that. And let's see if any of that worked. Okay. That looks way better. It's still got some chunkiness. We're going to probably want to smooth that out a little bit. That's going to need to smooth out as well. We're doing pretty good so far. Arms are almost done. Chest is almost done. And I've added actuators for doing breathing because I don't want to fake it with the rotating the chest cavity. It always it's kind of cheesy. The wary eye will notice this. So yeah, it's 12:05. I think we both got to get back to work because it's Monday.
Yeah. Let me just kind of walk through where I am.
Yep. Go.
Okay. So I'm gonna full screen and let's take a look. So you can see I've built a nice big chunk of the level over here.
Yeah.
So the plan is, or like the thinking behind this is, we have a more suburban area here where these boxes are like houses, and then we can have another one here. And we actually have a road here with cars that like just appear out of nowhere, and then you have to kind of keep wary of them because they're an environmental hazard. And then what an interesting idea I had was we have like little, in the real world, we have little elevation changes like a sidewalk, and then maybe there's like a house.
Yeah.
But what if we take it and we crank it up to an extreme where it becomes like a Mario 64 level of platform where sidewalk meets the road, or this part
Like
of the.
you're thinking like where like in this mode you wouldn't be able to walk up that sidewalk.
Yeah, you would have to jump to get on top of it.
Yeah, or find like find one of the little entry ramps.
Yeah, and entry ramps is kind of could be the interactive elements where it's literally like a billboard, houses for sale, and you come to it, you hit it, it falls down, and it creates a ramp.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
and suddenly now you have like an escape route or a potential thing that you can use to get to get where you wouldn't be able to get before. And then so I have two houses so far, and the verticality is what I was talking about. If you look at the level from this perspective, there's a crap ton of verticality, and I really like this. There's the elevated areas, super elevated areas, and in between, and then there's the very bottom, which could potentially be very store some really cool rewards here, but it can be a pain in the ass. If you fall down, then you're basically screwed. So, and another thing I was thinking about was, okay, so it's a suburban area. There's a lot of like bushes or trees in here. And I was thinking, well, we don't want to build a wall of trees or build an entire forest, but what if we just have like literally a block, like this kind of abstract cube that's sticking out of the ground, and all it has is like a tuft of grass and a bush. But you can use it, and bushes could be like almost like a trampolines where if you jump on a bush you bounce higher or something like that. And another thought I had, well, okay, so maybe if there's a tree over here, and if you knock it down somehow it falls down, and suddenly you, instead of going onto the dangerous enemy infested road, you can run on a tree and just kind of create a shortcut this way, and get straight to your home base right like this.
Yeah, and I think one of the issues we're gonna have to talk about is when in escape mode or in escape phase, you can't jump, but I wonder if it's possible to walk off of a ledge.
Oh yeah, that should be possible, definitely.
Like falling a certain distance, maybe you drop the can, or.
And I think maybe we need to unify the different heights. So falling off something like this wouldn't cause you to drop the can. But if you fall off a ledge like this, then the can gets dropped, and the garbage that you collected gets scattered all around. So you need to regather it, and makes you lose time, and increases the chance that enemies are gonna get onto you while you're regathering. But yeah,
cool.
You can see very quickly we kind of came up with a good start to finish chunk of the level, and we can start brainstorming a more in-depth mechanics here.
Cool. All right.
Should we play test it quickly?
Do it.
Okay, let's do this. So I can't guarantee that it's gonna work, but hey, look. So we got a ramp. Wee. We got a taller ramp. I'm not gonna go down there. Maybe just in the end, so we can make sure that just take. So yeah, here. See, so it's interesting because like you go down, there's elevation change, and then suddenly a car appears, and we could even do it that the car only appears the second you land on the road, so suddenly you have to dodge, and then yeah, the elevation makes it interesting. So there's a house, and we could potentially build a house kit so we can enter it inside of it and explore the insides, jump on the owner's bed. Then we have the backyard, which can be cool. And then, no, the cars. And then another house. Oh, what I won't be able to jump because onto these things. I guess like I could do death. All right, guys.
Okay.
That's looking pretty good. We'll continue refining it tomorrow.
Yep. All right. Thanks everybody, and have a great Monday.
See you guys later.